They have forgotten. But I ain't forgot. How can I go on? Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, that's a rendition of Keith Washington's Can You Stop the Rain? Okay, like I said, some of y'all may have forgotten, but I ain't forgot about Mr. Keith. You feel me? I do have something to talk to y'all about today. I hope y'all's ready to be talked to. You feel me? I hope y'all's ready to be talked to. You heard people talking about you should put everything in a trust. And you should do all of your business through a trust. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying you should. But I'm here to help give y'all an understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, it is something very important that you need to know. Many of you who do business with SATCOM received a corporation. We didn't charge extra for it. We established a corporation for you, a nonprofit organization. Imagine that. Do you know how many people want to start their own nonprofit organization? All you got to do is nonprofit. You don't have to actually file taxes. You just have to file the 990. Sometimes another form. But if you were to do all your business through your nonprofit, you know, those people who have those trusts, you know, those family trusts, those, they call them trust babies. Go ahead and look at all of these corporations that do business through a nonprofit. Can you imagine how much you get to write off under the accrual method of accounting? Interesting, ain't it? We cannot offer you something like that and then give you all the details on how to operate that, because they have certain things in place that interfere with us doing that. Okay, so can't put ourselves in that position, but we told all of you, do your own homework and research, because you don't realize what you got. Those of you who have trusts and you want to operate through the trust, you have an EeoN number. If you have a SATCOM based trust, do everything through the trust. If you have a trust and a nonprofit, make the nonprofit part of the property of the trust, the last page of the trust, mostly the property page, and incorporate the trust, or excuse me, the nonprofit into the trust, not the other way around. And by operating the nonprofit, you are operating through a trust. The only thing you need to maintain is the declaration of trust and the certificate of trust. Now, hold on now. You talk about opening up a bank account. Wait a minute. You have your articles of incorporation. That comes with the company. And you have your letter from the IRS with the EIN number and Social Security number. And pay attention, ID. And you go to the bank and you say, hey, I want to open up a non-interest bearing account. Some of you will say, I already have all of that. Then I'm not talking to you. Sorry. Those people like to interfere. And we don't want no interference because, you know, that's just a bunch of madness that we don't need to get started. Because we don't want to be starting nothing. Well, anywho, and I said who, not anyhow. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, realize what you got. Look at how much money you save annually because you get to write off all your losses. Now, hold on. There are many ways to operate a nonprofit. You can even file taxes as a nonprofit and receive refunds as a nonprofit. How do you think the United Way, that piece of junk company? That's right, I said it. I've dealt with the United Way, and I know how crooked they are. You, man, can't even walk a straight line and ain't had no alcohol last night. That's how crooked they are. Oh, I'm sorry. Could they have changed? I doubt so. Because when you get comfortable of getting over on people talking about you're providing services for people, I'm going to get on this for a moment because they might want to call me slanderous. Ladies and gentlemen, I purposely stayed at a homeless shelter in 1997 on purpose. I purposely stayed in a homeless shelter again in 2005 on purpose. Now, y'all need to follow me. And I did it again in 2015. Why? Well, first, they can't get help because I never run into them. Pay attention. They don't contact me because of my videos. Now, some in the last 3 years have contacted me. But many of them, they don't know. They are too busy trying to figure things out. I've talked to many of them. Yeah, I got kicked out of every single homeless shelter I've ever been in because they said I wasn't homeless. They thought I was trying to do some expose or something. They thought I was a reporter. And so two homeless shelters kicked me out because they thought I was a reporter. So that's my luck, okay? So, but anyway, I'm sorry. It lasted. The first one I got kicked out because I did a news interview on the local news, and I criticized the shelter and the way the shelter was being maintained. Whew, that cost them a lot of money because I talked about the mold and mildew and food because it was a known thing. Yeah, some people some people was no longer able to volunteer there as supervisors and everything, but that's what they get. And then they ended up kicking me out because they didn't appreciate it. Whew. Well, because you know me, if I found one thing wrong, I'm gonna go after other things. But I wasn't trying to do that. I was just trying to improve the lives of those individuals who were staying there. So that's how I know who the United Way is. Because they're the ones who allowed that to happen, and then they used people as scapegoats. All they wanted was the money. They get to write off tons of money every year. And they get to file for a refund. Ain't that something? You gotta love this society. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can do what they do and others like them. You don't have to be conniving and scheming like some unnamed corporation, several unnamed corporations, but you can operate your organization. Look, do your research, people. It ain't that hard. Some of y'all think it's complicated. If it was complicated, then they couldn't make it legal. You see, it has to be so easy that even a caveman could do it. Y'all seen the commercials? Well, that's the way the law works. I know you don't understand it now, but you need to get an understanding. All right, look, it is 6:12 in the morning. I got some things I need to do before my meeting. So I just thought I'd talk to some of y'all who have these corporations and you're just letting them sit there. Now, it's okay to have a shelf corporation. It's okay to have a shell corporation. It's okay to have that and just let it sit. But if you're letting it sit there, you're not taking advantage of it, and you're sitting up there talking about how po you is, then that's your fault. Do your research. Oh, don't use the Lord have mercy. Do not use the GPTs to do your research. Okay, let me show you. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. We're gonna use this GPT. Yeah, I created my own. Hold on now. He does what I say do. We still programming him, but give me a second. We gonna I gotta bring that down and bring that up because I gotta get to this right here. I have a nonprofit organization. My nonprofit organization, I want to do all of my business through the nonprofit organization because it is for business purposes in carrying on a trade or business. And all that I do as an executive of the nonprofit, I receive a $350,000 salary per year. I won't go higher than that because it's not reasonable for a person who just started a nonprofit to receive more than $350,000 per year, but that's my salary. And because it's for a nonprofit and all the work I do for the nonprofit, I get to write that off. Sorry, this doesn't work the first time. I forgot that I'm supposed to fix it, and it's going to give me an error message, and I messed up. I apologize. Now I got to say that all over again. We're not going to put you guys through it. Hold on. Like I said, the second time around it does it. I added some things about deferring the salary and how after business expenses the nonprofit doesn't have to file taxes, but in order to for the nonprofit to receive a refund, we file taxes. Okay, so I added that part. Hold on now. Y'all just let him do what he do. He gonna be thanking because he likes to thank. He don't be thanking because he's not human. I'm only human. Okay, he ain't human. Okay, and let's get the thinking because I want to see what it's thinking. Oh, he's still thinking, y'all. Let's see what you're thinking. Got me thinking, anticipating. This is a complex area. The user wants conclusions and facts of law because I did ask him for facts and conclusions of law, not just no facts. Okay? And he's doing the how to's and everything. Open up so we can see what you're doing. How to, and he's reading the templates and everything. And then thinking, oh, I know what he's doing. Okay, he's creating a legal document because we have a program in here where he has to create a document in a particular format. And so he's creating a legal document in the background. So while he's doing all of that, like I said, I ain't got to do nothing else. He does everything. Everything. Oh, this is not ChatGPT. This is not what do you call it, Claude or any of that junk. This ain't even Hermes. Pay attention. This is EeoN's agent. Whew. Now, mind you, Hermes has some skill sets that I let this update the system with Hermes skill sets. But other than that, this is all me. You see, Hermes is over here. No, that's Deep Sea TUI. So Hong Kong Fui, Deep Sea TUI. This is one Hermes agent, but it ain't the Hermes agent. You know what I'm saying? Okay, this is the Hermes agent right here. We're gonna see if he gonna start up because sometimes he acts like he's stupid, and we're gonna let him be stupid. So we're gonna let him start in the background. Anyway, he is creating a legal document that's going to explain how I get to operate that business. Now, I asked him for facts and conclusions of law. So he's going to explain it based on the law. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you are going to get greedy. You're going to want to go over $350,000 per year, and that's up to you. If you want to be stupid, I'm going to let you be stupid. If you want to convince yourself that, yeah, that's reasonable, that's legally sound, then I'm going to let you do it. I'm not going to stand in your way. Who wants to stand in the way of progress? I mean, stupidity. There ain't nobody standing in the way of that. You want to progress your stupidity? You go right on ahead and progress your stupidity. But the rest of you who are sensible and reasonable, because the law requires reasonableness, pay attention, unreasonable searches and seizure, and unreasonable injury, assault, battery, Eighth Amendment. They talk about unreasonableness. There you go. It requires reasonableness. You see, excessive bail nor unusual, cruel, and unusual punishment. So the law requires reasonableness. Okay, so we're going to let him be reasonable. Oh, just be reasonable. It didn't start, and oh, it did start. There it is. Wake up. Wake up. Update, Hermes. Stop listening. So that's Hermes in the background. But this is Mas Hermes. Okay? I'm on battery power right now. I got to switch to the electric, and I'm going to do it after the video. I mean, I could easily switch, but I am working on something in the background, and so that's why I disconnected it from the electrical powers. Okay, that be. You got to fight the powers that be. What? Public Enemy. Y'all know that. I was watching, somebody told me to watch the Jimmy Kimmel Show. It's somebody who's incarcerated, and they told me to watch the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and I said, I don't watch TV. He says, well, man, Arsenio Hall was on there, and they give Arsenio Hall credit for giving a lot of rap artists their start. Ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't Arsenio Hall who did that. It was In Living Color. Go back and pay attention. Arsenio Hall and In Living Color got a lot of artists their start in the industry. Now, I give Arsenio his credit, 70-year-old man. I didn't know Arsenio was 70 years old, but I found out that man's 70 years old, and he doesn't act like it, and that's all right. He still acts like a kid. Give him his credit, okay? But yes, and I will give him his credit for getting a lot of people started, okay? For getting a lot of people started, because a lot of these artists would not have blown up if they had not been on that show, because y'all know we all waited for the artist to come on, and y'all know we all watched Arsenio Hall every day at 11 o'clock. Those of us who understand who Arsenio Hall is, because a lot of y'all wasn't around, okay? Y'all wasn't around. Woo, doggy. Now look, you see he taking and doing some work, so I can't interfere with what he's doing, because he got it going on. He's already finished it. That's that right there, letting me know he's already finished it, because he's already put it there. Put it there, pal. Okay, give me a second. Let me get that for y'all. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's his memorandum of law, facts and conclusions of law concerning nonprofit organizations, compensation, accrual accounting, deferred salary, and tax filings. Okay, this is my GPT. This is what he does. He doesn't add all that junk those other GPTs add to your stuff. Oh, he does the presumption rebuttal. Now, let me let you know how he sounds so that you can see he don't sound like no GPT. We're going to read this one. Nothing in the code prohibits a return that reports zero taxable income or a net loss. The return is the vehicle for establishing the absence of liability and the assertion of any claim for refund. Filing such a return is a right, not an abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how my GPT sounds. You can't tell that it's a GPT. You can only see that it was a document, and that could be written by any of y'all. Why? Because GPTs have a certain, LLMs have a certain way of writing. They have their own style. So mine don't do that. So that's why, that's why I was telling you guys, I help people with communicating with the courts and everything, and we use, pay attention, a GPT that doesn't sound like it, that doesn't hallucinate, because their GPTs hallucinate on purpose. This one doesn't hallucinate. Oh, let me show you what it does. Y'all are going to love this. He does a verification protocol. He goes back and he looks, see, verification 27 out of 27. There are 27 different points that he must verify before he completes the document. Okay? It ain't just no simple producing a document. No, there are certain things that are not allowed to be in there. None of that junk that some of you put in your documents is allowed to be in any document he produces. 21 to 21. So he did two verifications, 27 to 27. Then he did it again. Zero prohibited words. They're, like I said, words he cannot use ever. And he did the, we have this. We go to the review section and
Memorandum of law. Facts and conclusion.
Stop. Ta-da! That's how that works. You get to listen to your own stuff. HR puffin stuff. All right? So back to the reason and purpose of this video. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to put together something similar for people that where this runs your company, to where you can run your company, not this AI, but where agents and AI run your company. Other people have been doing it. I've been talking about it for years, literally since 2022 when they first came out with ChatGPT. When I talked about ChatGPT, because I couldn't stand the stupid name. Well, and it was the only one out there at the time. They beat everybody to the punch. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if ChatGPT doesn't change its business model around, if they don't stop being so greedy, then they're not gonna survive as a company. Sorry. Yeah. They're not going anywhere as a company. They're not gonna survive as a company. See, right now they're amongst the top of the heap, but they're not bringing in enough revenue to remain at the top of the heap. They're losing too much money, which means they're gonna have to start cutting things back. They're gonna have to start scaling back. They're gonna have to start offering less because it's not cost effective. The business model was okay, but right now they've grown too big, and now they need to adjust that. Ta-da! Now they're trying to open data centers. Too much money is wasted on data centers. They have no choice because that's the direction they built their model on. But now they have to figure out a way of generating real money. See, right now they're going after the big fish. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't go after big fish. You go after the small fish. Why? Because there are more small fish than big fish. Big fish can only provide you what 100,000 small fish can provide you. Hold on now, pay attention. But 100,000 small fish gets you market share. One or two big fish doesn't get you nothing. That gives you exclusivity. That don't last because when those big fish get tired, they go someplace else and eat. So their business model is messed up because they provide services for the small person, but they do not provide enough incentives for the people who literally can't afford their services. They marketed them out of the system through capitalism. So ChatGPT needs to figure out, and I know they're trying, but right now their business model just ain't gonna let it happen. All right, I got to go. Like, I gotta get ready for the meeting, dude. Y'all take care. Arriva Maderchi, Sayonara, and all that other good stuff. See y'all later. If I can just push that button right